So as we can see on the hard side of this, we have the power on button, we have the prime button, and the syringe button as well. So these are used to indicate which kind of syringe that you want to control at any point in time. So once I select this, it selects both of them. So let's say I wanted to prime this. So the priming is like we want to fill this tube with a certain fluid. So let's say we want to dilute a sample. We have our diluent and we have our sample as well. And the diluent obviously has the largest volume. So the idea is to fill this tube with the diluent and then later pick up your sample and dilute. And we are going to demonstrate how that works. So I mean, we will just fill this whole tube with the sample, and we do that by priming the instrument. So when I press prime, this is going to move the syringes down and up, and then in doing that, it's going to take fluids. So like this. So it goes down like that, and it begins to pick up some fluids from here.
Okay.
Yeah, so it does that by itself. It's going to pump everything out. And in pumping everything out, it's going to leave the whole tube filled with the fluid that just passed through it. So, I mean, that's the idea of priming this pump or this machine. But this is like an automatic function. Once I press the prime, it will keep on doing it until I tell it to stop. So at any point in time, I can tell this thing to stop, and that is where my priming ends. But there is a pre-installed function in this one that makes the work easier. So like I can tell it to prime like once or twice, and after that it's going to stop. So this one I have to monitor this. When it gets to the top, then I have to press prime again, then it stops, right? But maybe I wanted to leave this, prime it, and come back to work on it. I can just go in here. So we have the various functions that we can be using with this machine. So when I go to utilities, we see prime in here. So I can select prime, and then I tell it to how many prime cycles, like just one. Then when I enter this, press play, and it's going to do it just once and it will stop. It's not going to be moving up and down like that again. Once I press these wizard sections, we can see a lot of things that we can do with this machine. Aliquot sampling, serial dispensing, dilution, dry weight dilution. You can do titrations and pipetting as well. So these are all the things that you can do with this particular machine. So we will go into this step by step with the ones that I've worked with so far, because I'm still working on getting to know how to use the machine well. So with the aliquot sampling, that has to do with, let's say we had a whole bunch of tubes that we wanted to fill with a particular, a fixed amount of sample. Like we have 50 tubes that we want to fill with 1 microliter each. This aliquot sample helps you to pick the sample and just be dropping them inside without, in the traditional way, you would have to pipette one into one, change the tip, do it again. But this will help you to pick up the sample and just drop it in all of them in just
so
one
you pick
step.
up enough for all the tubes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you do 1 to 2 minutes of
Exactly.
insulin. So do you do this for the nitric acid? Or you
Yes,
just-
so let's say you have your, let's say I have 5 tubes that I want to fill with 1 microliter each. So now I specify that I want to fill it with 1 microliter, and then I enter this. Then when I go to this advanced, it's going to ask me the number of aliquots.
Okay.
Then I specify that I have 5 exactly. So if I say I have 5, then it knows what I want to do. I can change the speed with which it is filling and the speed with which it is dispensing. But I use the maximum one because we are not very, very specific about that. So once I go back, it shows that ready to dispense 1 out of 5. That means the numbers that you have. So I can just to demonstrate. So
Yeah, no, you're good. I feel like it might be obvious why I invited you to this. It might help. Might not.
So this thing that you see right here is the hand probe, and that is what we are going to use to tell the machine to do everything that you want to do by just pressing this button right here. So there's this button here that we are just going to press, and that is going to tell the machine what to do at every stage. So now when I press this, it's going to fill the 5 ml that I need to fill all the tubes. That is the first thing that it does. So now it shows that the sample is ready to go out. That is the arrow that you see in yellow. I show this, I just press, it fills 1 ml, goes into this 1 ml.
Yeah, fast.
Yeah.
Do you press every single time?
Yeah, every single time.
And does it tell you when it's done for sure, or you can just hear it or something?
It stops. There is no other thing. Once I press, it's going to start the whole procedure again.
Okay, the amount that you selected and then it stopped.
Can you do 1 ml into there so I can see?
When I do 1 ml, it
Oh
stops.
yeah, it's fast. Like
Yeah.
it says it right there, ready to dispense 2.
2,
Okay.
exactly.
Alright. It just seems so fast. You look professional. 50x dilution of brine.
Exactly. So whenever I come, I can just go to that program and then run it. Listen. So the difference between the serial dispensing and the aliquot is that in the aliquot we have a fixed amount that we dispense, but in this serial dispensing I can change the volume in the next step. So I can fill 1 microliters in the first one, 2 in the second one, 3 in the third one, however I want it. So when I go into the advanced settings right here, okay, so this is where I set what I want to fill in the first run. If it is 1 microliter, I come to the steps. So now you see these steps are independent. So if I come to number 2, I can say that in the second step fill 2 ml instead of 1 ml, right? So I can change this one to 2 ml. And then in this step, maybe I can fill like with 3
But
ml.
the sequence is just 5, so I can like make a sequence of 6, 7
You can
different volume.
keep adding steps. So
okay,
you can
okay.
add steps here. So now I have 6 steps. But let's
Okay.
say you had 10 steps, you can add steps.
Okay, I got you now. Yeah.
I mean, so the steps will be equal to the number of tubes that you have. If that makes
Cool.
sense. And then I can change, I can edit the volume that I have in all the steps.
Awesome.
So that's the difference between this and the aliquot. But this one you can change it. So in the serial dilution machine, so with the dilution, this one is like just single step dilution. If I wanted to do like a single step dilution, I can use this one and I don't need any other thing to work with. So we have the diluent volume, the sample volume. Under normal circumstances, you don't see this air gap and wash volume over here. Let me just take it off so that so this is how the machine appears under normal circumstances. You have just the diluent volume and the sample volume that you want to take. But there are other functions in the advanced options. So we have air gap mode. So the use of this air gap mode is that if I wanted to pick a sample, so we have the diluent in this, but our actual sample we have to pick it from wherever we have it. So let's say I have my sample in this, then it means that I have to pick my sample from this. But this tube, this probe is already filled with a diluent, so I need some space to pick this up. But once you are doing a dilution, the machine automatically knows that at a certain step you have to pick this, so it gives you a certain space to pick it, but it does not leave any space between the diluent and the sample. So the air gap is what gives you the option to separate your diluent from the sample itself. So it's actually going to mix in your tube and not inside here. But if you don't set the air gap, it mixes in here before going into your tube. I don't know if that makes.
Yeah, I'm wondering why you would do one or the other.
And in turning it on, you can either use an auto or trigger. So when you do it auto, it means that the machine is going to do the air gap itself when it reaches that stage. But when I choose trigger, it puts it in the stages that when I'm going to press it, it fixes it at a certain stage, so that I will press it and it takes that. I don't use this air gap delay. I mean, from what I watched, I didn't know what that means. But the post sample air gap, here you can fix the level of gap that you want in terms of volume. So if I want like 1 ml air gap between the diluent and this one, I can fix that here. If I want like 5 microliters, whatever I want, I can fix that here. And this wash mode, what it does is it brings it wants to wash the tip of this one out. So once you are done, if this wash mode is on, it's going to bring some volume of the diluent out to wash wherever you used.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the serial dilution that we have been using, that might not be the washing that you want to do, because the next sample that you want to take might not be the diluent. I don't know if that makes sense. So what I do is I add another stage of pipetting, and then I will pipette DI water rather through the tip, and then just bring it out to wash whatever that I had in there. So that is how I'll be using it. But the wash mode is actually going to bring some level of the diluent out to wash the tip.
Yeah.
That is how it does it pretty much.
I would say it's probably okay to wash with the diluent for ICP prep. That's what we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do we need to wash with DI water?
So after I think when I get to the serial dilution, I can explain that to you. The sample volume that I've set, it shows me what I'm doing. I'm doing a ratio of 1:49 dilution.
Got it.
Okay.
When I go
50x.
Yes, when I go into the advanced, another thing I can do is this factor type. I can change it from ratio to dilution. And when I come to the screen, it shows 50 over 1, which is 50 times dilution. Also, when I come in here to the programming mode, now I have diluent and sample. I can change that to something like diluent and factor, and that is what I'm going to feed to it. So if I had my diluent and I knew that I want 50 times, that is what I input, not the sample volume, but it is going to calculate the sample volume that I need to make that by itself. And they also have diluent and total volume. You can input that as well, and then sample and factor.
There are different modes, okay.
So it depends on what you have. So I want to suck air and leave the thing empty, and then I go back to my prime stage.
What's
So
going on with that? That's just a really small tip.
that is the tip.
The other one's not like that, though, eh? Huh.
This is the
Okay.
Yeah.
aspirating this one. So I just bring this out, and then I initiate the prime. So you can prime it if you want.
They said
Prime is
nitric.
this
They said
button.
100%
Yes.
nitric is completely.
We are priming now? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So
So
because
now
I
it's,
don't have any fluid, it's going to empty the whole.
Is that the priming?
so we don't need to rinse with DI water, no,
You
just empty that.
You can rinse
Okay.
with DI water. So I mean, I think we should adapt that. Anytime that you are done, you just leave it filled with DI. That should be fine. Right?
I guess it depends on who's using it. If you guys are all doing it for ICP, then I would just leave it with nitric, I guess, unless it's gonna tear up
Oh.
the machine. I don't know. Maybe for cleaning the machine.
Yeah, and even the tubing with acid all the time, so
Yeah, I
probably.
agree. Yeah, let's do the
Yeah, you have to count it again. But if you are using it for just ICP, then you can leave the. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. And if you're not already